Hi there guys, in this video I'm going to just quickly run over how to create a new material in the Brushify infrastructure. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the modes panel. I'm just going to bring that in there on the left. So here you can see all of the various landscape materials that are ready and built for sort of painting on the terrain. So if I start painting this down, you can see there's sort of grass dry. I've got sort of desert variation. Forest, and last but not least, snow. So when you first start painting them down, Unreal does this thing where it just sort of compiles a few shaders, and it takes a bit of time. But yeah, once they're down, you have these kind of materials like this. So I've been getting a lot of questions from people about how to add a sort of new landscape auto material, or just some sort of simple material like, for instance, cobblestone or dirt, something that they can use for the sort of basis of maybe a town or a city, a village, something like that. So I'm just going to construct that really quickly here in this video and show you how you go about adding a new material to Brushify. So first things first, I'm going to go up to the content browser, go to my content folder, and I'm going to go to Brushify. And in here, if you go into materials and landscape, you can scroll down here to the landscape m_landscape material, and we're just going to open that up. So this is actually the Brushify landscape material. This is actually the main sort of hub of the material, but you'll notice that there are actually quite a few sort of functions, material functions, that are being specified in here. So you've got some of them that are built into Unreal Engine, like this world aligned blend. That's something that takes care of the sort of slope on the surface and all that stuff. But then I've created my own custom functions that are unique to Brushify. For instance, this one, which is for sort of organizing all the landscape layers and basically distributing those across the terrain. So if I double click onto one of those, Unreal will open up another tab and it will go inside of that material function. So inside of here you can see that this is basically a function that basically blends together all of these different biome materials and combines those on the landscape. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start at the very beginning. I'm going to add myself a new layer, and the way that this works is I just hit the plus here, and we've got a thing that says that I've just added a new layer, none. And if you scroll right down to the bottom of this list here, you've got this thing, layer name. So let's just, for instance, add cobblestone. And now I've got myself this layer cobblestone. So now what I need to do is copy and paste a material material function, and I'm just going to put that at the bottom here, and then I'm going to go inside of there and I'm just going to copy and paste, just duplicate that grass function. I'm going to call this one cobblestone. Okay, great. Now I have myself a new material. So I'm just going to go inside here and I'm going to swap the textures out for cobblestone. And let's see if we've actually got a nice cobblestone texture here. I think there's actually one that comes with Unreal. So yeah, let's just select that and then let's switch them all to cobblestone. This might not look good straight away, but it gives you an idea. And hit save. So the other thing that we're going to need is we're going to need some kind of a normal map for the cobblestone. So I'm just going to copy paste again the grass, but grass normals this time, and I'm going to call that cobblestone normals, and then go inside of there, and same thing again, just choose the texture cobblestone, and I'm going to go with the normal map for cobblestone, and yeah, just going to select that, add that. So I just make those all cobblestone and hit save. Okay, great. So now I have all of those sort of landscape layer, all of the material functions set and correct. So here I'm just gonna, in this material function, just add cobblestone. And you can see there's the two material functions, the ones I duplicated. They're both there and set up. So I'm gonna add the normal one. I'm gonna plug that in to the layer cobblestone here, which goes to the base diffuse. So this is the diffuse, and this is going to the diffuse. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to, let's just make a bit more space here. I'm going to copy and paste, so I'm going to go to the base normals one now. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to copy and paste a normal, one of the functions, and I'm going to switch this one to cobblestone normals. And you'll notice you'll need to also create a new layer here, and just go up if you don't remember what it was. I called it layer cobblestone, so we're just going to call it, of course, layer cobblestone, and hook up the normals to layer cobblestone. Okay, great. So now we have cobblestone normals going to base normals. Excellent. That should be easy enough. So then I'm gonna think about the slope now. So, in this case, I don't want to have cobblestone on the slopes. I'd rather have something like a rock. So the way I'm going to do this now is I'm going to just go to the slope diffuse section, and I'm going to add a new cobblestone layer to that. But instead of creating a new material function, I'm literally just going to hook up the MF rock, the material function rock, and I'm going to hook that up to cobblestone. That means that on this cobblestone layer I'm creating, it's going to be automatically textured with rocks whenever there's a slope over a certain amount. So all of the sort of flat surfaces are going to be covered in cobblestone, and the side of the little hills and stuff, that will still be rock. And the same thing for the slope normal. Just add a new cobblestone layer and rock normals, connect that up. And directional diffuse, you don't need to do anything because that one is just for snow. Okay, so once you're done with that, hit save. And now we're going to start painting our new material. So let's just exit out of some of these. And you can see that at the very bottom of this list, it's now added a new material in the layer painter. So now I'm just going to create a new weight blended layer on there. And you can just put that in almost any folder, but usually I have a sort of layer info folder that I'll put that into. And that's just created me a nice cobblestone layer info. So in that layer info file, you can find the options for how to add the physics material, in case you want to shoot the terrain and have some rocks or little cobblestones come shooting out of it. Or if it's grass, you'll want some like grass cuttings coming out with a particle effect. And it's also really useful for of course the audio side of things. So that's where you set the physics material for the material. Sorry, the physics material for the layer info. Let's start painting. So it takes a bit of time to compile. Okay, cool. Oh, and you can see we've now got these massive cobblestones. If we get really, really close, you can see they're blending in to these. So it looks a bit funny right now because, of course, you can see it transitions between this global and macro texture, and we sort of use the detail texture on all three levels. So of course, in the best case scenario, you would use three completely different materials. Maybe you'd use the same one for macro and global, but you'd use a separate one for detail and the macro and global. So you wouldn't get this kind of crazy cobblestone thing going on. So I'm just going to quickly go in and try and make that look a bit better because it doesn't look so amazing right now. So yeah, just go in your landscape materials folder, go into cobblestone, and let's see if we can find a better distance texture that we can quickly put on there that doesn't look as bad as the detail one. So yeah, I'm just going to go to, so you can see global tiling hooks up to this one, so I'm just going to change the global to something else. Let's see. So I'm going to go into my textures folder. I'm just going to find one that looks good. Maybe it will be more of a kind of muddy distance texture. So I'm just going to drag and drop that one on. And the same thing for the macro tiling. Just make sure that's connected up. Yeah, it's so make sure you follow where the connector goes. So you can see that's going to macro. Macro's going to that middle one. So it goes global, macro, detail. And here I'm just going to choose that. Okay, great. So now I've got two sort of macro textures, and then up close it's a nice cobblestone texture. And let's see how that looks. So of course you probably have a better material in the long run that looks more like an actual cobblestone material. Oh, I forgot to do the normal maps, so you can see how it's kind of texturing. This is actually quite interesting that you can see that the way that Brushify works is it actually, it's not just, the auto material isn't just working on the terrain and the terrain deformation, it's actually working on a normal level. So whatever normals you provide Brushify with for the terrain, those are going to become sort of textured by the auto material slightly as well. So yeah, it's quite interesting how that looks right now. Okay, so yeah, same thing again. Go to materials, landscape, and I'm just going to switch out the cobblestone normals for those different macro textures. So there's basically a mud texture. Let's see if we can find one that is more like a global texture. Oh yeah, here it is. Grass N. Okay, so that's a sort of distance grass texture. That should be good enough to have something. And just wait for your shaders to compile. And there we go. So if we get close to this now, you can see it's now got a cobblestone texture. I'm just going to run around. Cool. Let's check that the slope is working. I think it is. I think I can see it. It's just not a particularly slopey section. Let's go over here to some of these little slopey bits. Oh yeah, great. So it's automatically sloping that edge there. And of course you can change, what sort of slope is used. So I hope you guys found this tutorial useful. If you guys have any in-depth questions or anything super, anything in particular, feel free to message me or email me directly. I love to help people out with this kind of stuff and make sure that you get the most out of the product. Thanks a lot for listening, guys, and I'll see you later. Cheers.